Welcome to One-on-One. I'm your host, Lee Adams, and today, what an exciting guest we have for us today. I'm so excited. I've been doing this show for 25 plus years, and this is really one of the first days that we're talking about a subject that I think is very fascinating. Our guest today, our special guest today, is a psychic intuitive, a past life regressionist, an author, a teacher, and a healer. She's written 2 books. Her first book is Life is Just Another Class, One Soul's Journey Through Past Life Regressions. And the other one is Making True Love, Healing Relationship Patterns Through Past Life Regressions. I love to welcome, and I'm just so excited to have Karen Kubicko. Karen, welcome.
Thanks, Lee. I appreciate you having me here.
It's just it's a pleasure to have you here. There's so much to talk about. But I kind of want to get into something that I believe that was on everybody's mind at some point in their life. And that is, what happens when we die? And I don't think a lot of people like to think about that very often, but
True.
I think sometimes we have to think about that.
We do.
And to just set this question up, each of us, some of us, many of us have some sort of, I guess, faith background, let's just say. And say, let's say Christians, the afterlife, they think about heaven and hell and the afterlife through Jesus and the rising of Jesus. Like the Muslims, I'll read this. After death, the soul goes to the angel of death to await judgment day, and they will be raised from their grave and judged by Allah. They believe that death is not an enemy, but a reminder to live meaningful lives. They do believe there's a place of reward in the afterlife called Jannah. In Judaism, for people that are watching, in Judaism, they believe in an afterlife, which can take many forms. Some of them believe in reincarnation, and others believe in the world to come. And then you have your Buddhists and your Hindus and your Sikhs, and they believe in reincarnation and rebirth of other lives. And so, we live in the United States. There's 330 million people here. It's probably a majority Christian, and that's what we see around us. And we hear the heaven and the hell and all of this. But, there's billions of people that are Hindus and Buddhists that live on the other side of the world that think completely different. And so today, we want to have a discussion today about your work and your work with past life regression. And I think there's people that probably have no idea what that is. And I want you to explain first how you got to this work. And then we're going to go to what you think or what you believe and your work has taken you to, what happens when we die. But let's start first, Karen, of how your life brought you to this.
Well, I'll start with, I grew up Catholic. I went to a Catholic grade school and high school for a little while, and so I never contemplated past lives, reincarnation, or anything of that sort. I had a thought when I entered into the public school in 11th grade of, it's a kind of an interesting story only because I'm walking there for the first time, new school, and a friend of mine was talking to another lady, and I heard in my mind a thought, wow, I really hate her. And I'm like, whoa. I mean, that's not like my personality. I didn't understand why I thought that way. And the next thing I thought in my mind was, oh, I just had a bad past life with her. I never contemplated past lives again until it was...
Oh, you were a kid?
I was in 11th grade.
And you came up with this past life thought?
I just heard that in my head out of nowhere.
Okay.
I mean, at the time, I didn't realize where it was coming from, but now I understand it's like intuitive guidance of some kind, probably from one of my spirit guides, no doubt. And so now, fast forward in time, many years, and I am having a child, and it was not working out really easily. We both almost died, and at that moment, I was floating above, having a near-death experience in a sense, in a real sense, and talking to spirit guides and angels and watching over the entire scene, knowing what was happening, seeing other perspectives and having clear memories of the entire event. And I'm put under anesthesia because of the C-section that I was going through. So it was, I started having different experiences after that, and started getting into all of this, kind of like a long story in between there, but I started delving into learning more about past life regression. Just to have a quick, simple overview on what a past life is, we're a spiritual being, we're a soul, and on a soul level, we are growing and learning. And so part of how we learn to grow on a soul level is we have a human life. And so through having all these human lives, our past lives, again and again over thousands and thousands of years, we are learning something on a soul level to understand more about having inner peace, independence, overcoming grief. Really, the list is long on faith even could be a lesson that you could learn. So those are the reasons that we come into these human lifetimes to collaborate with other humans, other spiritual beings who are also taking on their own life lessons and to work through a lifetime. So anyway, I delved into past lives as a means to understand more about what was going on in my life. And it's through doing that I did some inner healing, but I also started to really start to recognize this was really more than just this humanness. How do I explain? So I need a second. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I got all ungrounded for
No,
some
it's
reason.
okay. I mean, we're in the moment, and we're really getting into something that is so fascinating that your life is now surrounded with. This is part of who you are, and you help other people learn about their past lives. And so you started to get into this, and you started to learn all these things, and then all of a sudden you have some lessons that you've learned about what happens to us when we die. And so many people would love to know, because we have faith in what we're told, but you seem to have a grip on what happens because of all of this work that you've done.
So after I started learning more about past life regression, I did some training with Brian Weiss, which is a person that has done a lot of work and a lot of teaching about how to go about doing this. He has several books out on the subject.
Very famous guy.
Very famous.
Brian Weiss in New York State, right?
Well, so he teaches in New York State at the Omega Institute. I think he's down to just once a year. He's getting up there in years. I think that he is based out of Florida, actually. That's where he's originally from.
Okay.
So I assume he's still there. I did study with him up in New York in 2007 to learn more about how to do past life regression work and how to work with other people to help them remember a past life. But in the midst of doing all that, I started by remembering my own lifetimes, and I just wanted to see what all the fuss was about. Are we just randomly thrown into these lifetimes, or are we working through something?
Yeah, what's going on here?
So we're growing and we're learning. Each time we go through a lifetime and we overcome a challenge and work through something and overcome another thing, we are growing. So let's say, for example, someone had a lifetime where they were in an abusive situation and they were just terribly abused and passed away. And so then other lifetimes you would learn how to overcome that, stand your ground, be independent. And then in this current lifetime, you're like, yeah, I'm not even dealing with any of that anymore. It's just, you're over it. Mm-hmm. So you've learned, even though it might have taken you several lifetimes to get there. So that's basically what I learned. There's lots of lessons that you can learn. But you asked the question on what happens after you die.
Yeah, which I think is just so central to all of us, human beings on this planet. And that's why I kind of wanted to go there. We're going to talk about so many other things that you do. But to me, everybody relates to this, Karen. Everybody.
Well, so it's kind of like when you have it. So I'll start with the near-death experience stuff.
Okay.
I had two of them. One I mentioned with the childbirth situation. The second one was in 2016 during a car wreck. And in both instances, that spirit part of me stepped out of my physical body and was viewing what was going on from above. And so, like, I knew that my humanness was still here, and then it gave me complete clarity that I'm really not this human, I'm this spiritual being. So I'm alive in this human life, and I'm alive as a spiritual being. I'm never really dead. I'm alive and alive.
But you were near dead.
I was near dead both times. I had a choice, Lee, to choose to come back in my life.
You had a choice.
I had a choice. Everything is a free will choice. It's a free will choice to choose this lifetime. It's a free will choice to come back into a body if you have had an experience that is traumatic. And why I bring up the near death is because when someone is coming towards the end of their life and maybe going in and out of consciousness, the way that I have been shown this psychically, and it's come to my attention even when I'm helping someone remember a past lifetime, they're choosing to be energetically, or that spirit part of them, in their humanness, or they're just standing beside the hospital bed or nearby checking out other things when they're unconscious. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I have even, this is, I think, very interesting. I've had a lot of people ask me this question when I'm doing psychic readings, psychic intuitive readings, however people want to refer to them. They worry about what happens when someone passed that was maybe going through some pain and suffering or a traumatic death instance. And so the way that I've always been shown this pretty consistently, whether I'm remembering it for myself, helping someone understand what happened to their loved one, or they're explaining it to me through a past life regression experience, they are, in a sense, jumping out of their body, no different than how I jumped out of my body when that car wreck was happening, and I didn't experience any of that pain and suffering. It's no different than when someone's going in and out of consciousness, and they're unconscious, laying in a hospital room, and then they're conscious again. They're stepping in and out of their physical body because they don't want to have to experience that pain on a conscious level, right? And so when you're out of your body, you're like, wow, this is nice. I don't have to feel any of that. So what's really interesting is that when you step out of your body after you pass, when it's your end time, and maybe not having a near death, you are immediately aware of, I am more than just this humanness. You're done with this human body. The way that I have been told about, a way to describe an analogy for going in and out of lifetimes is no different than you go through your life and you buy 5 or 6 different cars. So a car could be a physical body, and you change out these cars and you get different models that have different experiences. Maybe you had a new car, at one point a beater car when you were first delving into owning a car. Maybe you had a race car at some midlife crisis section. You know, you're going through these different cars, no different than you're picking out these different human bodies to have different experiences that you're going through. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So when you step out of your physical body because you're going through a death or a traumatic end of some kind, you feel nothing. You don't feel all that physical pain and suffering.
All the pain is gone.
It's just immediately just not there. It's kind of interesting because the way that I when I'm in front of people talking and doing a class or something, Lee, I'll actually say it's no different than me sitting in the chair and then I stand up and walk across the room and then I'm like, crap, I died. You know what I mean? Because you look back at your human body and you're like, well, that happened. Or you feel such a sense of release. And it's hard though, because as soon as you step out of your body, the hard part is you left your family, your friends, your loved ones behind. That's the difficult part.
Sure.
It's
why people hang on so hard.
That's correct. And that's why when I've had my near-death experiences, I did not want to leave my kids behind. So they were my incentive to maintain having this human experience in this lifetime.
Sure.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
And so now your spirit rises above your body when your body passes on.
Correct.
And then what happens, Karen?
Well, so that's a choice. So as soon as you come out of your physical body, you're standing, in a sense, in spirit nearby. And we're here in this earth experience. So how to explain what happens next? It's really imperative that we go to the light. I don't know how else to just, except for bluntly say that. I have been told that repetitively over time. Always go to the light.
Okay.
And I really feel like it's everything to do with, and an example of how moths go to a light at night. And they're banging like mad trying to get to this light. Well, where do you think they're trying to go? Because when you step out of your body, almost immediately, I want to say 100% of the time, a huge light, and it's kind of like, it's this beautiful, it's radiant, it's pouring this, oh my gosh, love energy out of it, and you're drawn towards it. And you don't understand why, but you just, wow, that just feels like the warmest hug, and you are drawn towards it. Now, some people consciously know they should go towards the light when they leave your body, when you're finished with a lifetime, and go immediately into the light. And when you go in the light, you're going up to a higher dimension, which is the heaven space. I have never seen hell. You mentioned that earlier. I don't know if we were recording when we talked about that, but I've never seen it. I've never had someone go into that space. It's just, I don't know why people talk about that, but it is...
but you're not hearing that in your work.
Never, never. The hell that people go into is when you don't go in the light. Because then you're stuck here in this earth plane, and like if someone has had a ghost encounter per se, sometimes that person is a discarnate being who no longer has a body but has not chosen to go in the light.
Well, the Catholics talk about purgatory.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's what the...
Well, I mean, it feels more like limbo.
Okay.
Like where you're kind of stuck between being here in the earth experience and going to the heaven space. Now, the reasoning for why people take their time to get from the earth experience into the heaven experience by way of going into the light is a whole discussion. Sometimes people don't feel worthy to go in the light. Maybe they feel like they have to repent something. They haven't been good enough. They didn't go to church every Sunday, or some rule that they feel like they have to abide by. But it is more of gathering themselves together and knowing that it's okay for them to go in the light.
So now we're go to the light.
Well, we have to wait 1 second before we go in.
Okay.
Most of the time also, if you don't just come out of your body and go directly into the light, there's that time between there. And you recognize, by the way, as a side note, there's no time at all. But when you step out of your body, almost always there's loved ones there. 100%. Either it's a spirit guide, it's an angel, it's a passed over loved one that has gone before you, and you are interested in knowing what happens next. You are surrounded by people who care about you on a very deep level. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And they will talk with you, show you around in a sense, and help you to make sure that you get into the light. I know when I've spoken to my spirit guides through some of the experiences I personally have had, they're like, we don't want you to get lost. We really want you to go in the light, because you have so much, you get so much more understanding of who you are as a spiritual being once you get in that light. Whereas when you step out of your body in that limbo state, if we want to use that word, before you go in the light, you might get stuck in not recognizing that you're even dead, especially if someone's had a very quick traumatic end where they are either shot or
accident,
something traumatic that's so blunt force, you're like slammed out of your body, and you might not recognize for a while that you're actually dead. So, and then there are other instances where people have taken time before they go into the light to visit with loved ones, to check on them. And that's not to say you can't do that once you've gone the light.
Do you mean loved ones that have passed?
No, loved ones that are still here.
That are still here.
Correct. So
they
like
send signs to them somehow.
Correct. So I always tell people to set up some kind of hello from the other side with people who've passed, whether it's a loved one or a spirit guide or whomever, someone who's on the other side in the spirit sense, to show them some kind of sign. But when you first step out of your body, you are able to just think about it, and you're someplace else. So if you wanted to go check on a child or a loved one, you think about them and you're there. It's really kind of a nice way to visit, because sometimes people want to say their last goodbyes, and sometimes people who have passed have come to people in dreams. I've talked to people who have woken up in the middle of the night and they feel like their mother is standing right over there by their bed. And they're like, oh my gosh. And then they wake up in the morning and they're like, my mother had passed, and they had seen them at that moment. Or they receive a phone call and the phone rings and no one's there, or all kinds of interesting things have happened. So that passed over person can get in contact with those they've left behind to let them know that they're still here. But like I said, you can set up a special sign of some kind so that they're showing you that.
Like for instance?
Well, so I have had there's so many choices. But most of the time people pick like a bird or a butterfly or dragonfly or something of that nature as their sign of hello, a special flower. Yeah, cardinals are big. And it's whatever is meaningful to you. I've had people talk about very specific butterflies be shown to them, and that was just an agreed upon instance. I've had people talk about all kinds of signs. And I've had people talk about where they felt someone brushing their hair or touching their shoulder or touching their cheek, like that last kiss goodbye before they go into the light. So once you step out of your body, however that happens.
And then you're saying that you're surrounded by people.
You're surrounded by people who love you.
Which is so comforting.
Absolutely. But then you can go back and visit other folks that you are now feeling like, and you're not. It's almost like you're not really sure. Some people are afraid to go in the light because they feel like they're going to leave their family behind, but that's not the case. So people go to visit all those folks. Whether or not their loved ones who are passed or spirit guides or angels are helping them with that, that's entirely up to them. But then once they're feeling complete, it's almost like that unfinished business, you know what I mean, where they're kind of working through all that, saying that last goodbye in some sense. Then they go in the light. when you go into the light, the way that they have showed it to me, it would take up this whole room, Lee, and you walk through, it's about 10 feet, it feels like, but it's just energy that's just oozing love. I don't know how to explain that. It's unconditional love, and it's like golden and white and glistening, and it's so bright, but you can still look at it. It's like you're looking through the sun in some kind of sense. And then once you get through that, then you're in a greeting room. And in the greeting room, that's when you can really talk to and speak to and visit with all the people from all lifetimes, most of the time, but the current lifetime for sure. Angels are there, your spirit guides are all there, and they're, for the most part, saying, hey, welcome back. And it's kind of like having a party on the other side kind of thing. Super exciting time for them because they missed you in a real sense.
Yeah. And so now you reconvene with some of those. Correct. And then after you do that and we go through all of that.
Yeah, you have to say hi to everybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
They all want to have an interaction.
You.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. You can't rush the process.
Right. So we get through that process, then what's the next step?
Then the next step is it's almost like it's a room that seems to be off to the left, and it is filled with angels that they're so, and I call them the healing ones because they're so tall, Lee, and they are just so patient and kind, and they are helping you heal on a very deep energetic level. Having this human lifetime is hard. And when you're in the heaven space, which is where now you're at this instance, it's like love is everywhere. It's peaceful. It's you have full understanding, like full faculties of all your intuitive abilities, and you are able to just feel all of that. But you have had this earth human experience, and you've picked up all this pain, suffering, jealousy, grief, all this trauma that has happened in this current lifetime, because there isn't anyone out there who's had just an easy breezy lifetime. We've all have stuff we have to work through and get through and work through and get through and get over on some sense.
It almost feels like it's designed that way.
Yeah, it kind of is, because when you're done working through all this stuff, then you're done.
Yeah, because I always say that I've learned my biggest life lessons through the hardest moments of my life.
If it was easy, it might not be a learning.
Exactly.
Easy to learn, right?
Exactly. So it seems like it's designed that way, and now you're dealing with these spirit. What do you call them? These tall spirit healers.
These are healing. I call them the healing ones. Are angels. Okay. They have wings. They're very. They're kind of serious. They're illuminated, and their job is to help us. To kind of like, if you think of yourself, like if someone has heard of the word aura, that's your energy field, okay? That's around you right this second. And there are some people who can see that, and so, or right. Feel it, or whatever. And so if you've collected some traumas, those might be like bruises on your otherwise pristine energy. And another way to describe that would be if you had a glass of water and you had rocks in there, and these angels would pick all the rocks out, take all the bruises off, and kind of cleanse and clear your energy in that way and fill you with that pure unconditional love and light. And so then you really recognize who you are as a spiritual being, and that inner light within you shine so bright. I mean, it comes from within, like your heart area, and you just are illuminated. And at that moment, then you walk into the heaven space. And once you've gone through that whole process, there's no near death anymore. You're past and staying there. But once you've passed into the heaven space and you've worked through saying hi to everybody and you've received the healing, then you go into the heaven space. And then it's up to you what you want to do next. There's a lot of stuff we could talk about after that.
What are some of the choices?
Well, so sometimes people talk about a life review, okay? And so we can talk about that. Your spirit guide will work with you. We have specific spirit guides that are our main spirit guides, and we have specific spirit guides that are like council members that help us understand, okay, in this lifetime you chose to work on the lesson of faith, and you did a great job. What would you like to work on next? And so they talk to you about those kinds of things. But when it comes to the life review that a lot of people mention and talk about, then you go to a place that sometimes people refer to as the Akashic Records. It's a record of it's like a hall, a library, that's filled with, and they showed it to me in a representative type of way, where it was this infinite, immense library with rows and rows and rows of books on your experience, my experience, anyone's experience that's watching. And you go there with one of your spirit guides. It's a beautiful building, and you open up your book, and it's kind of like energy that shows you, well, if I'd have made this choice, then this would have happened in my lifetime. If I would have made this choice, then this would have happened. And then, by the way, it kind of turns around, and you understand how you affected that person and how you affected this person because of your choices also. And so you get a full understanding of everything that's occurred in this current lifetime that you just left, and a really deep understanding of what you could have done differently. No one's judging you. No one. Not one person is judging you. You are judging yourself the most throughout the entire experience.
So many religions talk about Judgment Day.
I know. Well, you're judging yourself. Because, yeah, you could have tried that a little differently. Do you want to try that again? It's okay, you can try that again. It's more of that kind of way. We come here into this earth experience because it is a free will choice. We are free will choosing to be with this person, to work at that job, to go down this road.
Do you think we choose our parents?
We do choose our parents, for sure.
And a certain life.
Correct.
That we want to live and learn from.
Correct.
Because we need to learn certain lessons to grow.
Absolutely.
And so we keep coming back and coming back. But we're back to the review. You say we have the review, now we have the Akashic Records. And then what after that?
Well, it's up to you if you want to choose to have another lifetime.
So it's your choice.
It is your choice.
And you can go right away, or you could wait.
You could do whatever you want to.
Do what you want.
You could choose to learn how to be a spirit guide. And it's kind of like you're mothering over other spiritual beings that chose to have a human life because you understand and you get what they're going through. And so you are choosing to then watch over them and kind of give them inspirational guidance. Man, don't go down that alleyway. You know what I mean? Maybe choose this subject in school, or whatever. You know what I mean? They can intuitively kind of provide you that message to kind of give you some guidance, but they can't make anything change in your life unless it's a dying moment and you have you don't want to pass, like in a near-death experience example.
So basically, we're spiritual beings having a human experience.
Correct.
And then we rise above this life when it ends, and we meet with our loved ones and our group of people that we're involved with. We then go up and meet the angels and the reviews and the Akashic Records. And now you're saying that we have a choice to come back in a human body or in other ways, like a spirit guide.
Correct.
But with your work, it seems to me like what I've read about you and about your own self, but also working with others, is that many of the people that you work with and yourself have had multiple lives that you've lived.
Correct.
Multiple past lives.
Correct.
And those are there to learn lessons.
Correct.
And so like when people are going towards the end of their life, or even if they're young and they have a very serious illness and they're hanging on with dear life, they don't want to go. They don't want to go because we have so much more here to live. And we hold on so tight, many of us. What you're saying is it's not all that terrible where we're going.
No. I mean, it's peaceful. People feel at peace when that happens. When I'm helping somebody remember a past life, probably 80% of the time, people don't even go through the death scene. All of a sudden, they're remembering parts of their past life, and then the next thing, I say, okay, move forward in time, the next important event, and they're like, I don't see anything now, I just see darkness. Or they go into another past lifetime, because they don't need to go through that death scene experience, whether it is too traumatic at that moment for them, or it's just inconsequential in a sense.
You know, in our discussions and leading up to the show, to the interview here, you said something that really stuck with me. And I think that a lot of people can relate to this. And the term you used was exit points. And, you know, myself, I've had some health challenges in my life, and I've had some car accidents that have been potential exit points.
Right.
And so I want you to talk about exit points and what they mean to us, because I've got to think that people watching this, some would say, I don't know if I really had an exit point. Well, I know I've definitely had multiple exit points, and I joke about it like I'm like the cat with 9 lives. But you speak about exit points, and I want you to speak about it right here.
So that's a great question, Lee. So it is, you know, we'll go back to that heaven space. And you asked, what can you do after you go into the heaven space? Well, you can go to the Akashic records and check your information out and kind of review what you did in that lifetime. But if you choose to have another life, then you work with your council member spirit guides. They're counseling you. Are you sure you want to have another lifetime? And they give you some ideas and they kind of show it to you multiple lifetimes at the same time, which is weird for us to think about this moment. It's like you're watching 3 or 4 TV screens and you can comprehend everything that's happening all at once. And you're like, yeah, I think this lifetime here would work out for the lessons I want to learn. Maybe I want to learn how to trust, okay? Because in other lifetimes, maybe you didn't learn that, or you didn't learn how to trust yourself with being confident or something like that. So in this lifetime, yeah, I think I want to pick that lifetime, and you kind of get a preview of what might happen next. And so you get little snippets of different parts of that lifetime. And so along with working with your council member spirit guide, they're helping you, okay, so you're working on 5 or 6 things. If you get to this certain point where you've learned 3 things at this moment, you want to continue having life? Yes. And so then you jump over that car wreck and you come back into your human body and you're still here because you learned those 3 things and you don't have to exit this life.
So you're saying that once you learn the lessons that you were planning on coming here to learn,
correct,
then exit points
you can
present themselves.
Correct. You can either choose to go, or if you picked out 3 additional things once you got to that point, then you can start working on those and then work until your next exit point. And so you can either choose to stay, learn some more, or choose to go. So like for me, like I knew that first exit point, which was when I had a near death when I was working on trying to have a baby, and now they're healthy and all that, doing well. But it is, I could have chosen to leave at that point, but I chose to stay because the next thing I got into is all this.
Yes.
And so it started delving into past life regression work and all that type of thing. And then when I reached to the exit point of when I had the car wreck years later, then I started doing readings and really getting to see the other side in a very different way and really working with angels a whole lot more. I mean, I just took like a next step, that type of thing. It's like almost like if you're relating it to like a video game, you're leveling up in this current lifetime. Each time you kind of reach an exit point, most people notice that they've changed in some dramatic way.
So I'm just going to relate a little personal part of this. So when I was in my early 40s, I had a health challenge, a liver disease that was incurable. And, obviously it just was killing me because I had little kids.
Sure.
And when I was a kid, my father was a Pittsburgh policeman who worked the Martin Luther King riots in 1968 in the Hill District. And it was just a terrible, terrible thing for him to go through because it was like warfare in the streets. And so that stress, 2 years later, ended his life. I mean, that was part of it. And so he left 4 young kids. I was the oldest of 4, 13 years old, and a 37-year-old widow, my mother. And it was really, really hard for us to get through life because he was such a big, strong figure and a leader of our family. And so it was such a hard time for us kids to come up with one parent. And so now I find myself I'm working, married, working, come down with this disease, and I have 2 little kids. And the doctor tells me what I have and that there's no cure for this disease. And the first thing that went through my mind was, I'm going to have to do what my father did. He never got to see us graduate from high school. I'm not going to see my kids graduate from high school. So I was distraught, as you can imagine.
Sure.
And actually, that's what prompted me to really look into all these religions. And I found Brian Weiss of Many Lives, Many Masters about this reincarnation stuff. And I'm like, I don't hear this in the Catholic Church.
Right.
So I guess I remember that I was fighting so hard to stay alive because I did not want my kids to experience what I experienced because it was such hardship.
Sure.
And so I fought so hard, and fortunately, medical technology allows you that if you have certain organs that are going bad, now we're able to replace some of those organs. And I was able for that to happen to me. But I remember how hard I was fighting. And I think with what you're saying is that we have these exit points, these possible exit points. So that was certainly a possible exit point for me. For sure. And so I just didn't want to leave. I didn't want to leave these kids.
Well, it's a conscious decision sometimes.
Yes.
Right? I mean, it's that determination that gets you through those hard times.
Yes.
And you overcame it, and now we're having this conversation.
Now we're here.
Right.
Now we're here, and we're just trying to bring this to people that, I mean, we all grapple with where are we going to go after we die.
Right.
Even people with great faith. I mean, I have to believe that there's got to be some, I'm not so sure, but like we're filled with the faith.
Yeah.
They're telling me we're going to heaven if we're a good Christian.
Right.
And so we get filled with all that, and it's all good. But the thing is, you're saying that with the work that you've done, you're seeing a whole different ball game than what we hear from the pulpit in the churches.
Well, we're coming back again and again. But I mean, to your point, though, and I want to make sure that the people who are listening here understand this. Once you go into the light, into the heaven space, that doesn't mean that your loved one can't come back and visit you. On a psychic, I mean, I see things psychically. And so from my understanding and how they've shown it to me, someone who has just passed, that has not gone the light, looks more human, has more of their human personality intact in a sense, and they're more dense. to the floor. They're more like, they look more human. I don't know how to explain that. But once you've gone into the light, you've been cleansed and cleared of all that heaviness, of all this human trauma, and come back and visit. Like when I speak with someone who's passed, like that has passed and gone through the light, and they can come back and visit and talk with me. As soon as you think about someone on the other side, as soon as you talk about someone on the other side, they are instantly near you without any effort. They're not sitting at the grave site waiting for someone to come visit. They can be walking down the hallway with you or anywhere nearby. It's no effort for them, but when I see someone who has gone through the light, they are illuminated. They're brighter. They have higher knowledge and can talk about specific instances when you have contemplated them, thought about them, and they're next to you. Like I have many examples of that, but the funny one that recently happened is a woman and I were talking. We were talking to her passed over mother, and I didn't know any of this, but the mother was telling me she's not adding enough spices. And the woman is like, I know, I don't add this one particular spice, and my mom always liked to add that, and they used to cook big vats of this sauce or whatever. So she was watching her not add this spice and going like, because like, you can't be full Italian if you're not adding all this extra spices. So it was a funny thing. But it means she's always watching over her, for example. So it's no effort for your loved ones to be there for you at any time.
And it's basically, what you're saying is it's just thinking of them. And just
right.
sending your thoughts to them.
Correct. And okay. what you're describing, though, is when you're sending a thought to someone, that's telepathy or ESP.
Yeah.
And so you are on purpose sending like a signal to them, just like you're dialing your phone and calling them up. You're thinking about them. And they're there next to you.
Yeah.
Hey, what's going on? How can I help?
Yeah. So I want to do that right now because I just think it's so topical.
Sure.
And I think that everybody can relate to this. So my father, who died at 42 years old.
So when you brought him up, he's standing right here.
Well, I mean, so Edward Maurice Ace Adams died April 14th, 1971 at the age of 42, and all these Pittsburgh policemen were at the funeral. It was a sea of blue, and I was devastated as a 13-year-old boy.
Yeah.
And
your dad is saying it was a big to-do.
It was a big to-do.
And
I was broken. I was broke. I was devastated.
Sure.
And I had to watch them take that casket and drop it in that hole.
Oh, that's a hard moment.
That was, I mean,
it's so final.
Oh my gosh. And so those are traumatic moments. And when I got back in the car and it was raining and I put my head against like the window of the back window, side window, and I don't think I could cry any deeper than I saw.
Such a healing moment.
It was it crushed me.
Yeah.
And so I come back to the house and we had some people over, and people are there, trying to support my mother and us, and they're talking and they're starting to laugh. And I'm thinking to myself, ooh, there's nothing to laugh about here, fellas. Like we just dropped my father in a hole.
Yeah.
And so I'm 13 years old. So I just went outside with a basketball and my brother, and we just played and played and played because I could not hear laughter when I just saw what I saw.
Right.
And so I'm only bringing this up is because I've always said that even though this is 53 years ago, that I feel my father's spirit with me. And I feel that what he's been for me has been my moral compass, so to speak. Because he was
very empowering.
Yes, very right and wrong, because he was the policeman.
Sure.
And he taught his boys to be right and wrong and do the right thing. So I've always felt that from him. So what you're saying is that if I just, well, I speak him out loud here,
Right.
but if I just think him,
If you just think about
think him,
no
he's
effort.
going to come to me.
They're not too busy to come visit at any time.
So that's what we say to people watching this.
Right.
If your mother or brother or sister or uncle, whatever, who you're close to, think of them.
Think of them, and then they hear you, because sometimes when I'm doing a reading and I'm talking to a passed over loved one, the person sitting there will say, "Can you tell them I miss them?" I'm like, they can hear you. But they can hear you when you're speaking, and they can hear you when you're thinking. And you can ask them to come visit you in your dreams. That is a great way to interact with those on their side, because when you're sleeping, you remove all your roles of I'm not allowed to, I can't have that interaction. But it's of no effort for them to try to do that. The one thing that I have to express that I definitely have seen and come across is that, that grief that weighs on your heart. It is sometimes, if someone has so much grief, because I've been asked this question, well, so-and-so didn't come to me in my dreams yet. I haven't got a sign from them. But if you have so much grief weighing down on your heart, your passed over folks are going to be like, "Oh, I don't want to bring all that up." They don't want to upset you. So they're waiting for you to work through that grief. And a big way to do that is to think of fond, loving memories of that past person. And that helps to heal your heart and to heal that grief.
That brings up some even more fascinating to me. So people get married, and some people have these wonderful marriages, God bless them. And so their spouse passes, and they are overcome with massive grief, as you can imagine.
No.
The most intimate relationship you can have in your whole life, and you lose your partner.
It's hard.
It's so hard. And so they are overcome with all of this grief. And so the question is, how can they heal from that grief so they can move on and live a happy life? What do you say to that?
Well, it's no different. So it's specifically, I've been shown if someone's having a really tough time with someone who's passed on that they've spent an enormous amount of life with, whether it's a sibling or it is a loved one, spouse, whomever, is to make a scrapbook about it. Focus on those happy, funny, loving moments. You brought up people laughing at your dad's funeral, trying to have a good time. Well, sometimes people do that not because they're being disrespectful, but because that's how they deal with it.
I didn't know it at 13 years
No,
old.
for sure.
You're
No,
right.
for sure. And, it definitely was a difficult day for your family. But they might have been talking about funny interactions, funny moments with your dad, to help them on some subconscious level. They knew by bringing up that fun, happy moment is going to help them heal. It's no different than if you have a loved one who's going through a very difficult end-of-life time period for several years or months or whatever. Some people dwell on those last moments and remember and rehash it over and over again. But you've forgotten the 30 years you spent with them where you were having fun-loving, flirty, or going on trips or whatever the case may be. These positive, loving moments, those experiences that you've forgotten about because you're focusing on the end-of-life moments. And so that brings a great deal of healing.
Yeah, and that brings up something else. So there are people, and I have someone very close to me, that are going through the quote dying process, so to speak, and that their illness has progressed to a point where doctors are not giving them a lot of hope, so to speak, and that they're kind of giving them, in some ways, some timelines. And so with people in that situation, what do you have to say to them, Karen?
So for someone that is nearing the end, to be open to the safety and security is the words that I'm hearing actually to that their loved ones, their spirit guides and their angels have been around them this entire process. They're not alone, and if they pay attention, I'll bet no doubt that they have been receiving extra guidance and extra inspiration that there's more than just this human life. I have a friend of mine, I'll give an example. When she was going through a really bad time, she woke up and swore she saw angels just hovering over top of her, trying to make her feel better, and it is part of helping you to know that it's safe and it's okay, and there are folks there for you on the other side. So I have lots of examples. Wow. So like I have other examples where people felt like they were hallucinating in a sense, where they saw passed over loved ones peeking in the window saying, hey, it's okay to go. And just lots of dreams about it's okay. Maybe they've had a premonition of being able to see all the angels and their spirit guides and past people just standing there waiting for them, and being shown that information ahead of time to help. It's almost like preparing you for and helping you feel safe till you get to that point, that type of thing.
So it's just so fascinating, and we all, we live long enough. We have people that we see pass on us, and
it's hard.
We appreciate how hard that is and
For
how
sure.
heartbreaking it is.
Absolutely.
Because when you're loving somebody in this life, whether it be brother, mother, sister, or father, when we think of death, we think like that's it.
Yeah.
Like there's no more conversations.
I know.
Like it's quiet. It goes dead. And so what you're saying today, though, Karen, is that is simply not the case.
No, you can continue that by, I totally and strongly recommend having your Passover people show a sign of some kind that's very specific, that's meaningful to you for that person, so that they can show it to you. It could be a sound, it could be a number, it could be a flower, a bug, a butterfly, the cardinal we talked about in the beginning. I mean, it could be anything. And when you see that, all you have to do is confirm that now that's from this particular person. And you know that they're around without a doubt because you've seen that sign. That's all. I mean, it sounds so simple. I tell people often to ask for a feather as a sign from the other side, because that's how I first started kind of in all this. I asked, everybody was talking about, just ask for a feather, just ask for a feather. So I asked for a feather. I saw a feather and blew it off. I saw a feather and blew it off. And then one day I put the kids on the bus and I saw a pile of white stuff in the backyard, and I walked back thinking it was just like a garbage bag blew back there or something. And it was a pile of feathers. And I was like, what? And I still didn't dawn on me that I asked for them to show me a feather. And I still didn't believe that pile of feathers. But it was definitely a sign from the other side.
You know, this hour has just flown by. And I knew it would, because what you have to say is so impactful in my mind. It really is, because this is a central part of our lives. Like, we live our lives, and then what happens? What happens after that?
Right.
And we're speaking of this. So today, you're able to share with us that it's not the end. You don't turn into dirt.
Yeah.
I mean, we are spiritual beings having a human experience.
Correct.
And so that once we pass, there's a whole lot more going on.
A lot. It's a whole other life on the other side.
Which is so comforting.
For sure.
And then secondly, many of us have grief. We do when we lose
Yeah,
loved ones.
it's hard.
But you're saying that we can access them through our thoughts.
Correct. And some people actually have talked to me about hearing messages from their loved ones, no different than your dad is giving you messages, maybe do this is the right way of doing something in a moral kind of way. And you're like, oh, I know my dad would say something like that. You know, you're receiving that information and it's valid.
Karen, I think the work that you do is just so important, and I'm so glad that you took the time to come to
Yeah, I
share
appreciate
with
you
us.
having me.
Really, because this can impact everybody, but you have to, I think your mind has to be open to receiving this.
For sure.
Right?
For
Because
sure.
people are indoctrinated in certain religions, and you know, if it works for you, it works for you. God bless you.
And all I can tell them to do is just give it a try. You have nothing to lose.
Yeah, but this is something to think about.
True.
Because I had to think about it when I was facing an exit point, and a very premature exit point, almost the same age as what my father was.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm not ready. I'm not ready. And so they went with me, and they kept me here. And now I'm talking to you who studied under Brian Weiss, whose book I read when I was really in that situation. So it's just such a pleasure to have you today.
Thanks, Lee. I appreciate you having me here.
And you do such important work. And I think that you give so much comfort to people that are struggling as to what's going to happen here. The unknown is scary.
It is.
But yet your work has taught you so much that you're able to share this with people. And I just hope that they were able to listen and to absorb and hopefully make them feel a little more comfortable.
That's the point of it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
To feel comfortable that we're more than just this human.
It's just such a pleasure to have you. I just thank you. I can't thank you enough. I mean, I've been doing this for a long time, over 25 years, and this, I don't think I'm ever going to forget this show with you because it just,
Thanks,
it's
Lee.
so meaningful. You're talking about things that are just so meaningful to all of us.
Sure.
Because we love and then we lose. We have loss.
Yeah.
And that's just what this life is. But yet your work has taught you so many interesting things that many people don't even consider, and I hope that they do from our conversation.
Having an open mind to help you heal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming by.
Anytime, Lee. Thanks.
And I thank you for watching. And I just want to mention one thing. If you, your mother, brother, sister, or relative needed an organ transplant to save their life, would you accept it? I think most of us would say yes. So whenever we go to that driver's license center and it says, do you want to be an organ donor? Please consider strongly to check yes. Because if we're going to take it, why not giving life to someone before we pass? It's giving the gift of life, a gift that keeps on giving. I hope you really enjoyed our show today with Karen Kubicko. Just some fascinating things about life and death and the afterlife. And please join us for another edition of One-on-One. I'm your host, Lee Adams. Take care.